Well, this one would be interesting, I think. So I joined the Marine Corps after completing my bachelor's, 2 bachelor's degrees, as a matter of fact. I enlisted on purpose. The reason I enlisted was because I wanted to be in the Marine Corps infantry, because I had friends in a few branches and they had mentioned to me that, really combat is for maybe a 10% of our armed services these days. There's so much support that, if you're wanting to see combat, you have to very specifically go infantry, and you probably just need to go Marine Corps because they're the ones that get the most action. So the reason I wanted action was because, for whatever reason, I wanted to be with a group of guys that would be my friends, and I could be their friends. Because it seemed to me, in the world that I grew up, and even in the churches I grew up in, the Christian school I went to school, that you kind of have to have a certain level of personality, a certain level of performance to really be accepted. But I figured, well, in a combat scenario where we're all afraid of our lives, you're a friend by default. So I really, really wanted that. And I also really wanted to know what it felt like to fear for my life, for some reason. But it took me about 2.5 years to get to experience combat. And the closest call I think I had, my first son was born while we were doing this kind of big offensive in the desert. And at nights we would pull the trucks around into a square, kind of like a little fort. We'd go to sleep in our flaks because we weren't in our PB. We were just out there. And we'd come back from a night patrol, and it came over the radio from headquarters that my son had been born. And we were all the guys tackled me. It was really cool. We were excited. And one of the guys with us, who was special ops, was out there with us, and he had a satellite phone. He actually allowed me to call my wife in the hospital right there. So I got to talk to my wife out in the middle of the desert. The next day, it was our last day of the offensive, and we were kind of pushing back. And I was a guy on point. And basically my job was to kind of just look for signs of an IED, so that we wouldn't. And I don't know why, there was this little thing of brush, like a plant, a little green plant. There were a lot of them out there. They're always out there. And I just felt like I should check this. I don't know why, I should check it. And I did, and my metal detector went off. And I very carefully lifted it back, and there was a big package of saran wrapped 9-volt batteries, which meant it was a power source for some IED in the area. So of course we all froze, so none of us would trigger it. We called EOD. They came over, and luckily there was nothing there, because he found it, but found that it had already gone off for somebody else. And I think that's the first time I remember being like, wow, this could happen to me. And the day after my son was born, and my platoon leader was kind. He was like, oh, Fortney's a dad now. We need to not make him be point, which I appreciated that. Anyway, I grew up a little bit that day, and that's my story for today. So.